Hi and welcome to Watch the Time and my initial thoughts and review on this Pagani Sport Chronograph. Now let's get out of the way the fact that this is obviously a direct homage copy. It's not fake because it says Pagani design on the dial, the crown, the case back, the clasp. So they're not trying to fake. It's just a cheap lookalike of a very popular watch, which, let's face it, is out of reach for the majority of us. Now that leads me very nicely into who is this watch for. And if you just want a nice looking chronograph watch, it's a quartz. It's got the Seiko VK63 in it, so it's reliable, it's accurate. You're not going to have to touch it that often. If that's what you want, it's a nice little sports watch. It's not expensive. These go for less than $100, sort of around the £70 mark or less. So it's not an expensive watch. It's, in my opinion, a good value watch, and I'll go on to why that is, and I'll do some comparisons with some other watches I've got, just to sort of give you my reasons why. So it's a nice looking watch for someone. The other thing is that if you was in the market to buy a something like let's say for instance a Rolex Daytona, and you wanted a watch that looked a bit like it and you didn't know whether or not you liked it. Now I've never been a great fan of this watch, but I ordered it and thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. It's a white dial. I haven't got a white dial in the collection, so I'll have a look. When I put it on, I was like, oh my god, now I get it. It looks great and it feels great. So the size of this is, if it is very similar to the Daytona, then I think it's a great way of testing out if you really want to pull the trigger, and spend 20 grand on a 20 grand. We're talking is about the minimum you'll pick one of these up for. So does this impact on their sales? Absolutely not, but if anything, it might help. So this is a 12mm thick case, so it's nice and thin because of that quartz movement. It's a 40mm diameter. Obviously we've got a fixed tachymeter bezel, which makes the actual dial look a little bit smaller than if it was all dial. The bandwidth is 20mm, and it's obviously all stainless steel with we've got a sapphire crystal, which is nice on this as well. So the overall finish is mostly sort of mirror finish, and it's a nice finish. It's I can't fault the finish in any way. I've had a good look at it now, and I really can't fault the finish. There's some brushing underneath, but it's mostly sort of polished. The pushers sort of all look good. We've got these little locking collars that are, these are all functional and work okay. Water resistance wise, I wouldn't think this is something you want to get wet. I think it says it's something like 50 meters of water resistance or something, but looking at those pushers and that, I wouldn't be getting this one wet. It is a screw down crown and a screw down case back, but not one for swimming in my opinion. But then at the price, if you want to take a risk or you fall into the river at some point, you might get away with it. So as I said, all stainless steel at the pushers. The construction is really nice. The pushers, they work really well. The bit that's not so nice is when we unscrew this. Yikes! That is gritty. I think what it is, it's not gritty. I think what it actually is the crown is rubbing against the crown guards. Because when it's out, it's fine. It all works okay, but get that back in there, and it's just rubbing ever so slightly on the crown guards. And I'm going to forgive it that because of what this cost. We're talking less than £100. It's kind of, this really is, you're getting what you're paid for. They've obviously the budget is spread thin on this one, shall we say. So I'm going to forgive it that. And it's a quartz, so you're not going to have to interact with it that often. So not too much of an issue for me, really. Signed crown, which is always nice. Moving on to the bracelet, we've got a brushed outer link and a polished mid link. Again, it's not something I'm keen on, but it kind of fits with the watch aesthetic, so it looks okay on. And they've gone for this sort of quite expensive looking designed clasp, and it's actually quite interesting because it looks okay. It works right. That's nicely done. clips in nicely, and it's get your finger under. And then this end bit, it's got a little bit of movement in this end bit, so you flick it up and that releases. And if we look at this end bit, there's just a little bit of movement in it. That's intentional. And there's also the internal adjust. You need a tool to do it, but you've got 3 micro adjust and it's internal, and there is a kind of, you can undo it and release about 5mm. I don't know that's a dive extension or anything. I think that's just perhaps a hot weather extension maybe, and it's a bit fiddly, but it all works actually quite well. It's a milled buckle. You know, the quality looks okay. It all hinges on this one little pin which goes through there, but you know, I don't know if that's an issue or not. It hasn't been, that's all I can say. So once it's all closed up, it looks fine and it works okay. So let's get in on the dial. We've got obviously a standard chronograph. The chronograph secondhand doesn't quite line up, but again, you know, the price, I'm going to forgive it that. We've got a 24-hour register, a running seconds at the bottom, and then you've got your chronograph register on the left, which is, you can see it there. Very difficult to see the numbers on it. It's a 60-minute register. I actually prefer a 30-minute register because it's just easier to see for my old eyes. But you know, as a functional chronograph, yes, it works. You can time things, but it's not the most legible thing going. And I'd say that about this watch in general is quite often I've looked at this and I can't tell the time, and it's just because of the handset. They're quite thin. They've got a very thin amount of loom in there, and they're faceted or beveled. So the way they catch the light, sometimes, you know, there you can see the time no problem at all. But other times when I look at this watch, I'm like, I can't see the hands. I can't see what the time is. So not the most visible, but I'll get onto the really good bit of this watch in a minute. It has got a flyback chronograph, which is nice. Quite often with quartz ones, they don't fly back, they sort of rotate back. But as you can see there, again, not particularly visible, ticking away quite nicely, and then stop, reset, and pop, that flies back nicely. And these locking things are just to lock the pushers. This isn't extra sealing or anything. That just stops the pusher from being depressed. Idea being, if you're going into water, you need to lock them off. So you can't depress the pushers, but it doesn't make it any more or less water resistant. And as I've already said, I would say the water resistance on this would be questionable anyway. So let's move on to the really nice thing about this watch. Boom, there you go. I kind of wear it up over the knuckle. It's just how I wear my watches. You can wear it if you want to wear it off out your arm, it's up to you. I don't care. That's where I wear it, and it is so comfortable, and it just looks right. I mean, look at that. It's just, I've got the fit perfect, so it hangs nice on the wrist. It always looks nice on the wrist. It looks nice when it's peeking out from under a cuff kind of thing. It's quite a dressy watch, so you could easily get away with this as your dress watch, your everyday watch, your work watch, even a sports beta watch, jeans and a t-shirt, shorts, you know, anything. I just think it's so versatile. As I said, not the most practical thing for actually telling the time, funny enough, but because the amount of times I've looked at it and gone, oh, I can't even see the time, and I'm like, you have to tweak it so you get it hit the light right. But it just looks so nice, it's so comfortable. Now, I had no intention of keeping this in my collection as such, but I kind of think, well, I haven't got a white dial watch, I like chronographs, why wouldn't I? And it's kind of staying for a while until something, you know, maybe better comes along, I don't know, but I quite like it. And something just to chuck on, it's a quartz, so you haven't got to wind it, you haven't got to set the time, you just chuck it on. It looks, I think, really nice, and I don't know if it's just my wrist size is just over 7 inches, but it fits me absolutely perfectly. I mean, other than now giving me a bit of a hankering for a Rolex Daytona, I'm like, you know, that's probably the only downside. But then I will never spend that kind of money on a watch unless I win millions on the lottery, so it's not an issue for me that I have to worry about. The tachymeter bezel catches the light quite nicely, and sometimes looks almost like a bluey purple colour. Sometimes it looks black, but it's really nice. Yeah, so overall, a great little watch. Packaging wise, it just comes in a cardboard box. I didn't bother to even sort of go into that, and you get your usual warranty and whatnot. But you know, it's a 50 quid watch. Now, this might sound a bit negative, but I am going to do a quick comparison. This watch, the Steel Dive, which I keep bringing into videos, and there's a good reason for it. This is a £100 watch, so yes, it's twice the price of this, but it's still a very, very affordable watch for most people. You know, we're in the territory here, or both of these watches, of sort of fashion watches, which, in my opinion, are generally pretty poor. So you know, we've got again, another all stainless steel watch, really good quality, sapphire crystal, ceramic, you know, a Seiko movement as well, albeit an automatic Seiko rather than a quartz. But yeah, so £100. Now the difference here between these two watches is this watch is, you know, a sub $100 watch, and that's what you're getting. Whereas this watch is a £100, just over $100 watch. Well, actually, in some cases, you can get it less than $100. But in my opinion, what you're getting here is a watch worth at least double that value. And so when it comes to value, although this watch is twice as expensive as this, and they're in the same kind of ballpark, you know, they're both very close homages of other watches. This one I think is better value because it's, to me, I would be happy to pay twice as much money for that than I did. Whereas this one, I've paid what I feel is the right amount of money, and I wouldn't want to pay any more for it, because I think the QC issues are not insurmountable, and they don't really affect me on a day-to-day basis, but they are there, and I think they're worth noting. So should you get one? Yeah, if you like it, buy one. They're nice and cheap. As I said, as an everyday watch, I can't really fault it. It's got a date function on it. You know, it's got the 24-hour register. It's got a usable timing function that you can use to time food, parking meters, you know, day-to-day activities. Yeah, I think it's a really great watch, great design, and I really like it. So there you are. That's my initial review on the Pagani Design Sports Chronograph. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.